any meme I show anybody ever, like 99 times out of 100, it's from you.
That's incredible, actually.
Yeah.
That's a track record.
And your Twitter game is actually surprisingly pretty strong, too.
I deleted my Twitter, but there have been several times where I have reconsidered getting Twitter back just so I can follow TJ for his tweets.
They're surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just pandering you.
No, we're not pandering.
No, I honestly think that. And like, I favorite so much, or like, whatever the hell it's called now. Yeah. I like so many of your tweets that it's like, it comes up on my what you might have missed now. I see Noodle45 up there about something.
So I run other Twitter accounts.
Okay.
Like for St. Thomas.
Right.
And these Twitter accounts in turn follow my main account. So when I'm scrolling through, like trying to find St. Thomas tweets, like retweet and like and kind of like put up, it shows me like the people who have liked other tweets like you might be interested in. Mm-hmm. Every like scroll, there's one that's like TJ liked. Yeah. I'm like,
that is like the Twitter universe is a better place because TJ Birnbaum is there.
Yeah. How many accounts do you have connected to your phone right now? 4?
Connected to my phone?
Yeah.
I reset my phone, so some of them I haven't reconnected, but I had 5.
Oh my God.
Goodness.
Also, we need to talk later about the TSN one because I don't want it on mine anymore.
You're not TSN anymore?
Right. And it's under my email, so we should talk
can
about that later.
Email.
Yeah. I know there's technically a divide between Tummy Media and Tummy Sports, but can we bring you on as a social media consultant?
Seriously, like, what's another Twitter account at this point?
Exactly.
Like, it's nothing.
Yeah, seriously.
And we've already got so much social media stuff going on, like Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. I think we've got an Instagram. And like, it's such a big part where we have one social media manager, but that's just, we've got, I think, 4 or 5 people actively working on social media. So what's bringing in one more person to do Twitter?
Right. If you brought me in just for a meeting and just like, TJ, what are good tweets? I can give you good tweets.
Okay.
I can do it.
Give me some examples of good tweets, TJ. Oh, you quit too early. We were getting the whole thing going.
Skull?
Nice. I like it.
All right. Welcome. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the Q4 podcast, the only podcast available where you can listen to 2 college students and a high school teacher discuss local sports. Today we've got an exciting show planned up for you. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty well.
I'm doing well. And we have a special guest.
Yeah, we do.
Today.
All the way from, I guess, southeastern St. Paul. He lives in the same place I do, but it's my older brother, Christian. Hey, how you doing, K-Dog?
Good. How are you guys?
We're
great.
Killing it. Ready to get into this.
Talking sports, man.
Sprats.
All them sprats.
Like we do.
Sports ball.
Sports ball.
Sports.
All right. As always, we're just going to hop right in, starting with Q1.
That needs to stop.
We need to get actual sound effects.
Yeah, seriously.
We really do. Honestly, guys, I could put sound effects in afterwards, but whenever I get home at like 10 and I'm like, I want to upload this, and I get to editing it, and then I finish editing it, I'm like, I don't want to add anything to
That's why you should just have them downloaded and then like there. So it's just
plug
real
them in.
quick.
Yeah, quick copy paste.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put drum rolls in.
Sure.
Maybe I'll do that.
Maybe get like a quarter set, like a buzzer from a basketball game.
Yeah.
Like signal in a
Quarter
that'd be
two.
cool. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Maybe some bells, whistles,
Anything.
home run sounds, cheering.
Famous quotes. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
I was
don't know.
literally just going to say
That's
that.
the one, being from Minnesota, that's the one thing that comes to my mind.
Always.
Yeah.
Jack Buck was a beautiful
Jack
man.
Buck.
And I'm not saying that just because I'm from St. Louis. He just objectively was a beautiful, beautiful man.
It's true.
Who produced a beautiful son in Joe Buck.
Oh, God. So, Q1.
Q1.
We're talking about Joe Buck.
Or not.
Thank God.
I will fight all of you.
There will be arguments if we're talking about Joe.
I've got backup here. Christian and I staunch Joe Buck supporters.
We're going to avoid this for now. It'll probably come up in a
we probably
future
will.
episode. Q1 today, we're talking about Minnesota United. We talked about them in the first episode about potential playoff hopes, and then they proceeded to lose pretty much every game after that. So we're talking now about, since playoff hopes are kind of out the window.
Yeah.
What is their game plan going forward? They made a big move recently.
Yes.
Anthony, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So I think it was actually 2 weeks ago, the day after we recorded the first podcast. Christian Ramirez was technically traded to Los Angeles FC, which is not the LA Galaxy. It's the other LA team, for general allocation money, which basically means Minnesota United get $250K each year for the next 4 years, and that's $1 million. So everyone on Twitter was like smashing the entire organization and saying that this is a terrible move. Like, he's the reason I watch Minnesota United. And well, that's all well and good. Like, he was obviously amazing. He was with them from their start in Blaine as the NASL team, but this year he didn't do that much. And they even signed that new guy, the Angelo Rodriguez guy, and the new Ibarra guy as well. So we're bringing in new people. Ramirez wasn't getting the job done. He's just a big name for Minnesota United, and I think that's the biggest thing that they lost was the guy. Like, when you thought of Minnesota United, you thought of Christian Ramirez. All of the groups, all of the commercials. Like, for Colorado, you'd have Tim Howard. Everyone knows who Tim Howard is, right? But when you think of Minnesota United and you're not a Minnesota United fan, you think of Christian Ramirez because he's the guy, the face. So I don't think it's a bad move for their soccer team. I don't think they get much worse letting him go. I think they could get better from it. I think the biggest thing they lose is the face of their organization. And I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, is that we're in this grace period right now, for like the honeymoon stage of Minnesota United being in the MLS. If we don't do something good, we will lose a lot of fans right now. Because you look at like the Twins. I was at the Twins game last night, and it's just kind of like, well, here we go, watching a Twins game. And like you guys, it's fun to watch the Cardinals do well, right? They're a storied franchise. 6 years ago, they're winning games left and right. Like, it's a lot of fun to watch, right?
But even, when they're losing games, like this season, it was just complete garbage around the All-Star break. Like, it was not a good team, and yet the Cardinals were still pulling in near 40,000 fans every night.
Right, and it's fun to go watch those games.
Yeah, and it's because they are established. They've been around for 120 years or so. Whereas,
that's a long
time.
It is.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And like, it's so long. Like, 1892 is when they came into the NL, and there are still arguments about like, should we actually count like the 10 years before that they're an actual team? Because if they do, that's like another championship that they have in there as well. So it's like, we're having arguments about that. Like, in the 1880s, should we include those years? Like, in no other sports league will you hear that. It's like, oh wow, do the 1880s count?
Right, like that's what Minnesota United needs, is they need the fan base that's going to be as strong as...
Exactly. And obviously the Cardinals have built that up over, a century and a half. But, for a new team like MNUFC, you need star power. So even though they don't get much worse...
But I also think that, we're not native Minnesotans, but I think native Minnesotans and hardcore Minnesota sports fans have felt a little bit... underwhelmed and somewhat betrayed by their sports teams, seeing as how their championship hasn't been here in the cities since 1991. They've had every team's had their couple of good year stretches, but no one's ever come close. And you just kind of wonder when it's ever going to actually happen.
Right, and this move by MN United seems to fly directly in the face of making the game for the fans. Like, as Anthony said, you don't get much worse from this in terms of like actual talent and everything, but what you do to the fans, it's like, you just got to trust us. They haven't earned that trust yet.
That's the biggest drawback. Was like, I was scrolling through Minnesota United's Twitter when they tweeted like, Christian Ramirez has been traded for whatever to LAFC, and every single tweet I saw was, fire this person, fire that person, I'm not watching anymore. And it's like, okay, just chill for a second. I understand you're a passionate fan. I'm a passionate fan too. I loved watching Christian Ramirez. Like, he was fun to watch. But people do this for a living. They're doing it for a reason, and I don't think it's a bad move at all. I think it's a good move. But now the question is, for the front office, for the team, for the coaching staff, who is going to be the face? Because our technically best player, Kevin Molino, is hurt again, 2 years in a row, ACL injury. Arguably one of our next best players, Ethan Finley, ACL injury. Who is it going to be? Personally, I think it should be the keeper, Bobby Shuttleworth, because he's 33, 34 years old. He's been in the league for 12 years. He is the reason that Minnesota United is in these games, because he is one of the top, I would say, 5 to 10 keepers in the league. He's outstanding for an absolutely horrendous defense that has gotten better, but someone needs to be the face. And I think that's overlooked a lot of times. Like, being a Twins fan, Brian Dozier leaving, it's like, well, okay, well, who is it now? Like, Rosario? Like,
bring that up.
Who's the guy? You know?
The Twins are kind of in the same spot that Minnesota United is, but they just traded away like all their big name players. And I, as a fan, like my feelings hurt after that, but my brain understood, like, this is smart. This is a good move. And I think the Twins are in less of a hot spot with their fans because they still have the face of the franchise in Joe Mauer.
Who knows where he's going to be, though? If he might leave after this year because he's a free agent.
Exactly. So I think Minnesota United is kind of in that same spot where, like, the Twins weren't getting the production they needed necessarily to win a championship from Brian Dozier or Eduardo Escobar. Like, they were really good players, but the benefit you can get from that by giving them to another team who feels like they need them more could be better for you in the future. Minnesota United needs to establish a future because right now they don't even have a present. They had Christian Ramirez, and like you said, he's the face, but he's about it.
Yeah.
So
they've added an additional challenge to getting long-term dedicated fans in Minnesota, where it's like, you need to establish yourself as a good soccer club, but now you need to reestablish who your star is. And obviously, I mean, the people in the front office are getting paid a lot of money to do this. I have no idea how to do their jobs. So obviously they have a plan and they know what they're doing. But as an outsider, as someone who could possibly get into Minnesota soccer, but now realizing that this team at least appears like they're trading away one of their only great players, I need to see a little more. They need to execute whatever plan it is absolutely perfectly to guarantee that they get some long-term dedicated fans back in Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what they know is that this fan base is very passionate for right now, but they have next season, which is the inaugural season at their new stadium, and which is kind of like the honeymoon stage stretches out. So I'd say they have a maximum of 2 seasons to get it figured out and make the playoffs before people start losing faith. Because people are losing faith right now, but they have this like, oh, well, I want to go see the new stadium, so I might as well go watch a game. You know what I'm saying?
I think that probably played into the idea of trading away Ramirez because they understand that fans will be upset, but we're still going to have fans. We're still going to have people coming to the games because we have a new stadium, still a new team, and everyone's still hot to have soccer in Minnesota. So we can do this right now because this, as a financial move, is a great move. They get at least $800,000 guaranteed over the next 4 years. $1 million if Ramirez meets his performance goals in LA. So that's $1 million added to their payroll over the next 4 years, which is huge for a new team. So this could be not only an opportunity to take advantage of the fact that they're in that honeymoon stage, but also could be a financial way for them to grab that new star.
Yes. And that's what they need to do. They have 3 designated players right now. They need to figure out a way to keep these players, to draw more people to Minnesota, to try to elevate their team because they're right there. They're close, but they lose games they shouldn't lose. They don't win games they should win. They either draw those games or they end up losing them. Like the game 2 weeks ago to Seattle. You can't be up. You can't lead for 88 minutes and then let the other team score 2 goals in 6 minutes. You're not going to make the playoffs like that. So getting to that next step, reshaping the defense, keeping everything together. I think Adrian Heath is still the guy to do it, but we'll have to see. I mean, it'll be fun to see, and it'll be fun to see Christian Ramirez go to the playoffs too, because LAFC right now is in 5th. So barring any major move from Vancouver or Seattle, they'll make the playoffs. And it'll be cool to see him because he deserves it. He's a good player, but he might have been being held back here. So I don't know. It'll be cool to see the next 2 years for Minnesota United. They're not going to take home the cup next year, but hopefully they'll make the playoffs, because this year there's not a good chance in the slightest to make it. I'd say probably about the same as the Twins making the playoffs. So not very high.
Not good.
Almost zero. It's a non-zero total, but it's
Actually, I was looking at the FanGraphs playoff percentage rankings today, and all 4 AL Central teams not named the Cleveland Indians have a 0% chance of making the playoffs. Cleveland Indians have a 100% chance of making the playoffs.
So MN United has a slightly better chance than the Twins at making the playoffs.
Let's go 1%. 1% chance of making the playoffs.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I'm saying there's a chance.
You can't give that kind of hope to Minnesota fans.
That's true.
We will
That's true.
latch
Because
on
Minnesota fans be like, we're making the playoffs! 1%! But it's not going to happen.
Hey, it's higher than it was last year, guys.
That's true. That's true. Again, improvement, but slight at best.
All right, you guys want to move into Q2?
Let's do it.
Yes.
All right, Q2.
Do I have something to say about Q2? I would love to move into Q2.
Good. All right, Q2. We just finished the 4th major championship of the year for the PGA. PGA Championship finished on Sunday. Brooks Koepka taking his 2nd consecutive major, which is incredible in its own right. But the big story that everyone's talking about is Tiger Woods finishing the top 5 in a major. So we have a couple questions. Ryder Cup is coming up. A, will Tiger Woods be on the team for the Ryder Cup? And B, how long will it be until Tiger wins his next tournament or his next major?
I think he should be on the Ryder Cup team. I think he should be on for 2 reasons. One, the way he's playing right now, everything up to the green is not outstanding, but his putting is phenomenal. And when you're playing match play and you have someone, this is reason 2. When you're playing match play and you have someone like Tiger Woods you're playing with, I don't think there's any other American that any European would want to play less, if that makes sense, than Tiger Woods. People hate playing directly against Tiger Woods because if you watched the PGA last week, it was Brooks was winning. He was up by 3 with like 4 or 5 to go or something like that. But yet, when he makes a birdie, everyone's like, yeah, awesome, right? When Tiger makes a birdie, the place erupts, right? You just said Brooks Koepka won his 2nd straight major, his 3rd before age 29. It's only like him, Tiger, Jordan Spieth, and Jack Nicklaus who have ever done that, or some crazy stat like that. But yet, no one cares because Tiger's making birdies. Like, Tiger changes how people watch golf. No one who doesn't watch golf is like, oh, Brooks Koepka, he's fun to watch, right? Because he wins and he plays good, but he's not exciting to watch at all. He hits the ball really far. That's awesome. But Tiger's fun to watch because if he makes a birdie, he's got this enormous fist pump. He's getting jacked up. Everyone loves it. Everyone's a part of it. And the competitors start crapping their pants because they hear that and they see Tiger and it's intimidating.
And I think that's the more important point here for Q2 is if Tiger keeps playing the way he's playing, yes, he should be on the team and he will win a major at some point, probably within the next couple of years. But that kind of misses the point, I feel like. With Tiger back in any sort of capacity like this, it's just good for the sport of golf. Mm-hmm. Where if you look over the past few years, particularly when Tiger got not good, when he hit his slump, you really didn't have a superstar playing golf. I mean, yeah, you got guys like Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, the new guys coming up who are good. They're really good at golf. But when you say the name Tiger Woods, not only in the United States but around the world, people know who you're talking about.
Yep.
He's one of the most popular athletes in the world, and particularly at the height of his run. About 10 years ago, something like that. You couldn't go to a single place anywhere and at least not see something for Tiger Woods. And with him coming back, that's just good for golf. It gets more people interested. People are more willing to watch. It's like, oh, Tiger is fun to watch. It's an event. Mm-hmm. Even if it could be some cheap little celebrity tournament out in Florida or whatever. And it's like, oh, cool, yeah, I'll watch it. But if you hear Tiger Woods is going to be there, it's like, we got to go. We got to see this. Mm-hmm. So with Tiger back, and with him playing the way he's playing, within the next couple of years, he's going to get his next tournament win.
Yeah, I can see that. I think he is definitely the pick for the Ryder Cup. I can't imagine him not, just the combination of his experience in the Cup, A, and B, the fact that he's on a hot streak. Looking at the FedEx Cup standings right now, Tiger with his finish this Sunday jumped from 49th to 20th, just with one finish. Mm-hmm. And he has 5 top 10 finishes this season. So he's riding hot right now. I think he'd be good for the U.S. And I think in terms of his tournament and his major play, I think he could win a major in the next few years, but we're going to need more consistency from him, because right now he is fighting against some of the best golfers that we have ever watched play the game. You know, Brooks Koepka, like we're saying, is his second major in a row. There are the last time a player won 2 consecutive majors was Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
So basically, Tiger Woods, coming out of his slump, has to play against people who were as good as he was in his prime, which would be a hell of a comeback story if he ends up winning a major in the next couple of years. And I would be hype out of my mind to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the story. What boggles my mind is when someone wins and that's not the story. I think the first thing that came to my mind is when Justin Morneau won the home run derby 7-8 years ago, whatever it was. No one cared. No one remembers that because Josh Hamilton hit 27 home runs in the first round or whatever it was. That was the story. Oh my God, he hit all these home runs, right? And he lost, whatever. Justin Morneau won, who cares? But that was the story. And right now the story is Tiger Woods. And I think that would be good for Team USA because the Ryder Cup is so much fun to watch and it's built around energy. You want it to be energetic. It's the first time, it's the only time in golf where it's an us versus them kind of thing. It's so fun to watch. So if Tiger's on that team, that changes the narrative of Team USA.
And I think he should definitely be on the team now. But even if you weren't playing as well, but still, good, he should still definitely be on the team. Just because with Tiger playing even remotely good golf, that's just good publicity, as I was saying earlier. And that's good recognition, and it's good experience for Team USA to have. But with him playing at the level that he's playing at right now, even if it's not sustainable, as TJ was saying, if this is just a hot streak where he needs to transform it from a hot streak into just Tiger Woods golf again. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not that, right now, you're getting vintage Tiger Woods golf. You can't pass that up. You shouldn't pass that up.
If we're talking the popularity, I think it was either his first or second top 5, maybe it was his first top 5 finish this season. Rory McIlroy won that tournament. I don't remember what tournament it was, but it was his first top 5 finish of the season, his first top 5 finish in a long time. Mm-hmm. And there was a USA Today article about the tournament. It was 5 paragraphs before they mentioned that Rory McIlroy had won.
Yeah, I mean, it's
people just get excited when Tiger Woods is playing good golf
because I think he is the most dominant athlete in his prime. Because I was talking to one of my buddies yesterday about Tiger, and it was when we were growing up watching golf, it was weird to see Tiger not win. And now you think Justin Thomas has won 5 tournaments this year. He's the first person to win 5 tournaments since Tiger Woods, right?
All the stats are first since
Tiger Woods, right? But who is talking about Justin Thomas's reign right now? Nobody. Nobody's talking about it. Justin Thomas is awesome. He's a great young golfer, like Noah said. One of these guys who's coming up. Kids love him, fun to watch, right? But Tiger Woods won everything for 6 years straight. And it was almost, I would dare say close to 50% of the majors and even 50% of the tournaments. One person was winning. That is incredibly dominant. And when he's coming back, he's got all the crap past him now, and people are just watching Tiger for Tiger. which is fun, and it's bringing people towards golf, which is really hard to do because it's boring to watch. It's incredibly boring unless there's that excitement, that switch that Tiger has.
Tiger's dominance brings people who are not golf fans to, like, he is the golf equivalent of what Serena Williams is to tennis.
Absolutely.
I don't watch tennis.
No.
Serena Williams
No one
is
does.
damn fun to watch.
Right. Yeah.
And I know who she is because she's just absolutely so dominant in everything she does. Tiger is the same way. Like, non-golf fans, you talk to anyone on the street, if they know who top 10 golfer is today, most of them wouldn't be able to answer your question. You ask them who Tiger Woods is. Oh, yeah, Tiger. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. And that's like the tournament was held in St. Louis this year. And so, like, as a non-golf fan, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool for the city. I'll watch a round or two just to see what it's like. I actually watched more than I thought I would because Tiger was playing.
Yeah.
And just the atmosphere around there. I mean, you watch any St. Louis sportscast during that time, whether it be a Cardinals game or some other sports event going on, they're talking about the event and they're talking about Tiger, how well he's doing. And so just the entire sports world in St. Louis, and thus, you know, the entire sports world in the country, it all turned to Tiger. And that's really cool that there's someone who is able to draw that much attention to a sport that I don't want to say not many, but a majority of people don't find that interesting.
Right. And I think the last thing I want to say about this is that, like you said, if you're not, so you're not a diehard Minnesota United fan, but you would watch it because it's new and, you know, things like that. If you're not a golf fan, you don't just sit down and watch golf. No. Right? But what I think is very interesting is Stephen A. Smith said this, and irregardless of what you think about Stephen A. Smith, he said that the most amazing thing that Tiger is doing right now is it's not a talk about the NFL's anthem policy. It's not a talk about MLB's steroid abuse thing from a couple years ago. It's not a talk about the NFL's domestic violence thing. It's not a talk about basketball's relationship with the president. It's not a talk about this or that, the other thing. It's not about some racism thing. It's not about some domestic abuse thing. It's not about anything. It's just about watching golf right now. And Tiger had his own issues 10 years ago or whatever it was. But now it's just about golf. And right now that's the only sport, I mean, baseball as well, but it's one of the only sports where there's not some huge issue overlying everything. So it's like I get to watch a sport and just relax and watch it and enjoy it and don't have to worry about where this person stands politically or where this person does this. It's just like guys playing golf. And it's what golf is supposed to be. And then you get into it. Like, you're watching this and you're like, you know what? I like Brooks Koepka. He made a birdie. That's awesome, you know? Or like, and you want to cheer for these people that are doing well because it's a sport and it's fun, where sports now so easily become politicized, or this is, oh, you're the face of this abuse scandal, murder, all that stuff. There's so many crap things out there where it's finally fun to just watch someone play the sport, dominate, and be entertained by it.
And Tiger brings in more people to it, and they get to enjoy it and sit there and it's like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Resurgence of golf in America.
Here we
I'm
go.
excited for it.
Number one sport coming soon.
Let's go. I'm
a little upset at you, Anthony, for saying irregardless. That is just grammatically
I know, but I couldn't think
nonsensical.
of another word, and it clicked in my head.
Regardless.
Irregardless.
You just chop off the IR at the beginning.
I guess regardless.
regardless.
Irregardless sounds so much better.
No,
though,
it
doesn't.
doesn't.
Irregardless of anything.
Regardless of anything.
Are you sure irregardless isn't a word?
I am 100% certain.
I guess that would
This
be kind
man
of
has read
contradictory.
the AP style
Yeah.
book forward and back.
Yeah.
Irregardless is the
dreams
second
about
search on Google.
Gross.
It says, you know what it says? Irregardless, adjective and adverb. The definition? Regardless.
See?
Moving on.
Google's
Quarter
calling
three.
you out.
Q3. Quarter three. We just finished up week one of the NFL preseason. We talked NFL the entire show last time, but we have to talk about it again because
Can I say
preseason.
something real quick?
Yeah.
Skull.
Skull.
They
Skull.
looked good.
They looked first team for the Vikes. I I like that. I really like that.
Now, I want to ask you, TJ, because when the news first came out, I remember specifically talking to you about the Kirk Cousins signing.
Yeah.
And you were not very excited about it.
I wasn't.
Are you now?
I am. I wasn't excited about the Kirk Cousins thing initially because I was thinking about it, and like Kirk Cousins, he played for the Washington Redskins, figured a lot of his yards were from like garbage time yards. It was a massive deal. I didn't know if they were going to get other signings done. And then there was just the fear of being a Minnesota sports fan and not wanting to get too hyped, right?
And yet here you are now too hyped.
I'm too hyped. I'm too hyped. Seeing him
that's
play,
the thing.
I'm going to stand by it that Kirk Cousins, I do not think is a top tier quarterback.
No, but that's the thing. With the Vikings defense, he doesn't need to be. He is a player, as I've said before, who every game is going to make a couple of boneheaded decisions. But he is also a player who, unlike Case Keenum last season, can pull you out of a rut and win a shootout if you need him to.
He can make... I'm so excited to have a Vikings quarterback that makes downfield throws, you guys.
Oh, God, I know, right?
And that's like, he won't have to win many shootouts. He won't have to pull this team out of a rut too many times.
Oh, that defense.
But the one time that we needed it most last season was against the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, and Case Keenum could not do that. Kirk Cousins, can he single-handedly take down the Eagles defense? No. But he can help steer the ship, correct course. So blowouts
prevent
like
it
that
from being like a broken game.
Right. Because, like, as we said before, that in that game against the Eagles in the NFC Championship, you can kind of trace it back to one play, the pick six that Keenum threw. Maybe Kirk Cousins throws that pick, maybe he doesn't. Either way, it's not going to spiral to 38-7.
I think the again, without getting too hyped about preseason results, because I think I was talking to one of my friends a couple days ago about preseason. He's like, yeah, just remember that last year the Cleveland Browns were 4-0 in the preseason and they went on to go 0-16. So preseason means nothing. But one of my biggest concerns with Kirk Cousins signing initially was not so much his play and what he would mean to the team, but the Vikings' ability to sign their other stars that needed to get paid in the coming years. And they've already eliminated most of that worry by locking up 4 of the 5 guys that we were worried about. Mm-hmm. So really, Anthony Barr is the only guy that's left that needs to get a deal done. And the good news is, because he's the only one left, if a deal doesn't get done, he just gets the franchise tag. So the Vikings are not in imminent danger of losing him. So one of the key concerns that I had and several other people have had about the Vikings and Kirk Cousins, that's kind of gone by the wayside.
Yeah, I'm coming to like the deal more and more. And like you said, don't put too much stock into preseason. I as a fan, when I watch preseason, I watch for individual performances. I don't watch the team as a whole, because a dub means nothing in the preseason.
Well, I think
but Kirk Cousins himself looked good. Stephon Diggs looked good. Latavius Murray, like Dalvin Cook didn't even play, but the Tay train was moving. Rock Johnson was hamming it up out there. That was great.
And that's the thing, you can't look at wins and losses in preseason, but I think you should look at the team, particularly the first team, and look how they're clicking. As you said, the Vikings' first team looked unstoppable. And sure, it's a preseason game. Not everybody's going 100%. But if that is just even a small glimpse of things to come, I mean, they're already firing on all cylinders, it looks like.
Against a good defense, too. Like the first team defense for the Broncos. Like,
exactly.
It's not exactly a slouch.
And you look that most teams get better as they go along, that we're not going to see peak Vikings performance until probably week 5 or week 6. I think this is the most reason Minnesota sports fans have had to be excited in 3 decades.
I am. There are a couple parts of the team that still concern me. There are no perfect teams. Like, that's just, they don't exist. There's always problems.
1972 Dolphins.
Okay. Fine. But they're not. In the league right now, there are no perfect teams. The Vikings, I think, lack depth at a couple key positions. They're good at running back. Like, Dalvin Cook is a starter. Is good. Latavius Murray is good. Rock Johnson is good.
Might be the best running combination in the NFL. this year.
Yeah.
Might be.
Might be.
I'm not saying it will be. I'm saying it might be.
And I think our defensive line has good depth. There's talk of even rotating. I think they've got, it's 7 or 8 guys that they're planning on just rotating through, keeping them all fresh. So it's going to lower injury rates in the D-line and all that. But I am concerned in a couple positions. I'm concerned in wide receiver. If Diggs or Thielen goes down, our backups aren't great.
There's a certain person on the free agent market who you could sign to remedy that.
Absolutely not.
That's
not something I want on this team.
No. And
I'm just saying, think about it.
Quarterback depth concerns me as well because Trevor Siemian is not good.
That's why they should have kept.
That's how you say not good.
Although, depending on how well he does, we could always just trade for Teddy Bridgewater if something happens to Kirk Cousins.
Like,
it's true.
Freak scenario, trade for Kirk Cousins goes down, we trade for Teddy Bridgewater and win the Super Bowl. And you know what? I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay with it too.
I'd bring Teddy back
That's almost a better story than Nick Foles coming back.
Actually.
Yes, it is a better story.
Like I don't think it'll happen, but one of my bold predictions for the season, Teddy does not stay in New York.
There's already talks that he's not because it's good. It's Darnold all the way.
Yeah. Well, you got Sam Darnold and Fitzpatrick is in.
No, he's not.
He's with the Buccaneers because he's starting the first 4 games for Tampa Bay.
About that. Do they have a third quarterback?
I don't know.
Yeah, they have Josh McCown.
Josh McCown, that's who it was. Older guy.
He's going to be starting for him at the beginning of the season.
So you've got Josh McCown, who is your starter, and then you've got Sam Darnold, who is your long-term future. Teddy Bridgewater, while an intriguing option, doesn't really fit into that equation. No.
And he's good trade value. There are many teams in the league that are dying for a quarterback as good as Teddy Bridgewater.
He's young.
And they will give a lot for him.
He's young. He's athletic. Got a good arm.
It's the chance the Jets have to actually add some other pieces to their team other than an okay quarterback and a spot in New Jersey.
Can I bring up
Also, spots in New Jersey are not hard to come by.
Can I bring up another interesting quarterback battle and possibly my new favorite team in the NFL? Is that okay if I do that?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. And I know everyone said that wins don't matter in the preseason, but I would like to talk about a current undefeated team right now that has not lost a game, that won 20-10 in their first game.
Are we talking about Cleveland?
That are stationed maybe around Cleveland, Ohio. But I'm just saying, are you guys watching Hard Knocks or no?
No.
Okay. I haven't seen it. I'm going to watch it sometime soon because it's about the Browns this year. And what I saw in their game against New York, other than Saquon Barkley juking everyone's jock straps into about the 15th row on his first run, that kid is going to be good. Like, he will be a very solid running back in the NFL. But I think the story is the Browns, I think, are very talented. I think Tyrod Taylor will start, and I think he will do fine. I don't know if Baker Mayfield is going to get the looks that I think he should get. He looked good in the preseason as well.
I wasn't expecting to like him. Like, I liked him playing for Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to be another, like, obviously we don't know for sure yet, but I was thinking it was going to be another kind of like a Tim Tebow or Johnny Manziel kind of thing where, like, they look really good in college, they come to the pros, and, like, something just doesn't quite click.
Yeah.
But he looked.
You're telling me that the Tim Tebow experiment didn't work?
I'm saying for he plays for a different sport now, so yes, I would. But
Baker looked good.
He looked really good, and I like what I'm seeing with the Browns right now. The issue, which I have come to agree now, is the glaring issue, is not necessarily the team, but Hugh Jackson, the coach, because
terrible.
If you go on Twitter or if you follow anything that is around the NFL, you're going to see Jarvis Landry and someone else fist fighting in the practice, just in practice, fist fighting, right? And again, this is fist fighting with helmets on, a very questionable maneuver as it is.
You always see that in some games. Like, who was it that punched Ben Roethlisberger in the face and, like, broke his hand?
It was
because he tried going through the face mask.
Well, it was during a play. Haloti Ngata in an AFC divisional game or a wild card. went for a sack. His hand slipped through the face mask, punched Roethlisberger right in the nose, and it just it was bent the other way.
Why?
Yeah, dude.
No, not in his case, but the idea of trying to punch someone, like you see someone try to occasionally throw a punch.
There was a while ago that it was when Andre Johnson was still playing for the Texans, and Cortland Finnegan playing for the Titans. They went at it. At least they had the decency to rip each other's helmets off.
Dude, like hockey has been having fights for so long, and every time they pull off the helmets, they pull off the gloves. Like, if you're going to fight someone in football, do it right. Pull off your helmet, be a man about it, and come down, put up your dukes, and go for it.
Or, just solve your anger issues in a more mature, responsible way that doesn't risk breaking your hand or the other person's face.
I don't get the, you blocked that? Yeah, I did. That's right. Well, I'm going to slap you with my hand into your helmet to show you how I'm a superior person to you. Oh, you slapped me. Oh, wow, you win. I don't get that. And
this is
so frustrating.
Like, every team has their on the field issues between players during training camp. It happens, because you're going up against the same defense every day. You're going up against guys you see all the time.
Yeah.
And tensions will flare.
Yeah,
Stephon Diggs and Xavier Rhodes had to be pulled out for a practice because they were getting into like words. They were fighting with each other and arguing. And Zim was like, okay, guys, you got to go to the locker room and cool down. But Zim had that in control. Most coaches have that in control where if your guys start getting a little chippy, you're like, okay, all right, cool down, go sit out for a little while, come back when you're ready. Hugh Jackson does not have that in control.
And that's the thing is now even the coaching staff, because Todd Haley's the offensive coordinator, and he's kind of a dick, right? When he was in Pittsburgh, him and Ben Roethlisberger didn't like each other. They didn't get along. That's fine. He's a good coach. He knows his stuff. But when you have coaches coming to the head coach saying hey, guys are sitting out, and they're sitting out because they say they're sore, but it's because they don't want to practice. Put your foot down. When you think of a football coach, I think of basically a drill sergeant with football clothing on. I think of someone yelling constantly, expecting the most. If your leg hurts, suck it up, dude. You're playing football. Let's go.
And if you're thinking about my 7th grade football coach was more of a hard ass than Hugh Jackson sounds.
Come on, yeah.
You're getting paid millions of dollars to order other millionaires around on a field. Do it.
Yeah, and if someone slaps your player, then what Zim did, he's get off the field. Go cool down. You're not mature enough to be out. Whatever. Go away, right? And I guarantee you all the Vikings respect Mike Zimmer because he doesn't mess around, and I would not want to get on his bad side. Because even the reporter who was talking about the Richie Incognito or whatever, he's like, oh, is he gonna play? He's like, no, he's not. That's stupid, right? It's like, tweet that. You don't mess with Mike Zimmer. Reporters are intimidated by him. Right now, the players run the team in Cleveland, and that's not going to work because they have a ton of talent but no one to guide them.
Culture.
Yeah.
It's a terrible culture.
It's not just that they have talent now, but now they need to improve the culture surrounding it.
And on that thing you just said there's a huge difference between intimidation and respect. I believe the Vikings organization, every single one of those players respects Mike Zimmer.
You look at teams,
and it's easier to get people intimidated by you, but it's really hard to earn their respect. But the Browns need respect, and that is probably the biggest factor in how well they do this season. If the players not only respect themselves but each other and their coach, they're going to do well. If you look at they won't.
Yes.
If you look at the greatest coaches of the greatest teams, or even just good coaches of good teams, not even necessarily historically great, but you can talk about Vince Lombardi and the Packers. You can talk about John Madden. You can talk about Bill Belichick, obviously, and it's not an intimidation thing. He's not out there beating his players. Yeah. It's everyone in the league respects the crap out of him.
Greg Popovich in the NBA too.
Yes.
Everyone respects him. Yeah.
And then you have if you don't have that respect, your team isn't going to be good because your team doesn't listen to the coaching staff. That's why the Vikings have been good recently, is because Mike Zimmer is a respectable coach. Steelers are good because Mike Tomlin knows how to run a team. If you do not get that respect from your players, you do not get the production on the field.
And like you said, now the pieces are there, but someone has to glue it together. and it doesn't look like it's going to be Mr. Hugh, which is too bad because it's like I want so badly for the Browns to do well, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about the Browns' acquisitions over the past season and how good they could be, but I feel like in the last episodes we overlooked that fact.
Yeah.
And if they don't do something dramatically to change the culture, that 8-8 ceiling that Anthony and I gave them, it's
looking awfully high.
Yeah.
But like and again, this is the last thing I'll say about my new favorite team. But like when the Vikings brought in Zimmer, it was like, all right, this is a guy, a defensive-minded guy who doesn't take anything from anyone. He's saying, everyone earns what they put the work into, and he was just a clean-cut, straight edge. Here's what it is, and if they listen, we'll win. All that kind of stuff. But without knowing anything about him, you sit back, you're like, like this guy's confident, but it sounds like he knows what he's doing. And he sounds like he's not a guy you mess with. Like that's what the culture needs to change to be in Cleveland. Because now you have huge personalities with Jarvis Landry and even Baker Mayfield too. Humongous personalities, but getting them to work towards a common goal is a big task for Cleveland. But they looked good in their preseason game. And it'll be fun to watch this year.
As Christian said earlier, though, they went 4-0 in the preseason last year.
Yeah.
And we saw how that turned out.
Yeah. That's true.
All right.
Q4.
So this is going to be a fun one. Twinkies are out of the playoff run, obviously. They've made all their moves. They've done it. They've sold this season away. So we're not going to talk much about the Twinkies. Instead, we're going to talk about baseball in general and the World Series. Who are the favorites? Who are your favorites? What do you think is going to happen? Who do you want to win? Who are you rooting for? Baseball.
I'm gonna let the people on the other side of the table take this one.
I mean, well, let's just start off by saying that I think the early preseason predictions were kind of not what they are now. I mean, because going into this season, the Washington Nationals were the preeminent favorite in most betting houses to be the World Series champion, and they are 60-60 right now, 8 games back in their own division and struggling in the wild card. So, baseball is weird. And I was just mentioning this to Noah today. The Houston Astros earlier in the season, everyone thought that it was going to be them and the Red Sox vying for the wins record. Well, they've fallen on hard times of late, and the Oakland A's are now 1 game behind the Astros for the AL West lead. So baseball is definitely interesting. It is going to be fun to watch.
Speaking of interesting baseball, and all biases aside, I think one of the most fascinating teams of the past month have to be the St. Louis Cardinals.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, you look, going in, they were, just 1 game above 500 going into the All-Star break, and they fired their manager, Mike Matheny. He's gone. They fired the hitting coaches, John Mabry, and who's the other guy?
Oh, Bill Miller.
Bill Miller. You bring in a new guy, Mike Schilt. Not a single game of managerial experience at the major league level before coming up for the Cardinals. And now, in that past stretch, they have the best record in the NL.
They're 17-9 since Mike Schilt took over.
Exactly. Like, they are on fire. All of their players who they thought would be performing well at the beginning of the season, who weren't, they are now. We're getting a lot of great young guys who are playing, particularly on the pitching rotation. If you would have told any St. Louis fan that at the beginning of the season you would have lost Adam Wainwright, Carlos Martinez, and Michael Wacha all to injury, and that Miles Michaelis, some guy that we signed over from Japan, that he would be your rock star, and that you would have 4 guys below the age of 26 starting for you, and that you'd be doing really well, everybody thought you would have been crazy. But the Cardinals have built their success on that, and I think while it's hard to say that they are quite ready to take on people like the Boston Red Sox, like the who are some other good teams in the AL, like the Oakland A's, to say that they could go all the way, turn it around this season, and win the World Series. Crazier things have happened, but it's a hard sell. But they're just probably one of the most interesting teams, and it's just you can't count them out.
It's contributing to the fact that the AL playoff race is going to be much more exciting to watch than the AL, because
I think you mean NL over AL.
That's what. Oh, is that what
You said AL over AL.
Oh,
That'd be tough to do.
I think the NL playoff race is going to be much more exciting down the stretch than the AL because 2 divisions in the AL have already been decided pretty much, and the one division has 3 teams vying for 2 spots because the other one of them is going to get the wild card because the Yankees are going to be the other wild card. I think the polarizing nature of the AL divisions this year has just been not a good thing for having exciting baseball in August and September.
The positive note about the Twins' crappy season is that we won't have to face the Yankees in the wild card.
Yeah,
it is impossible for the Twins to lose to the Yankees in the playoffs this year, which is a positive.
That's a positive.
Yes.
You don't have to lose to the Yankees in the playoffs if you don't make it to the playoffs.
Exactly.
The only thing, like you were saying, the NL is going to be a lot more exciting, and I do agree with that. You've got a lot of good teams in the NL. I think Arizona is going to be a tough one. I do like the Cardinals. I do. The AL, the only really exciting matchup in the AL is going to be Boston versus New York, and that's going to be in the divisional round. So, like beyond that, like who else is going to be up there to challenge Boston? Boston's going to win their divisional series,
Cleveland.
and then.
And I think, well, the thing is, as the Indians showed both in 2016 when they went to the World Series and then last year when they got deep in the playoffs, they have a very talented team. They're dealing with some injury issues right now. I think the bigger thing for the Indians is that because they're getting to fatten up and beat up 4 terrible division opponents and they have a pretty weak schedule from here on forward, they're not playing against any top-tier competition for mainly the rest of the season. And when you spend a lot of your time playing worse teams, when you have to go into a division round against either Boston or Houston or Oakland or Seattle, I don't know how that might affect their ability to actually win close, tight playoff atmosphere like games. Because like I said, they've spent the better part of the whole year just beating up on a bunch of bad teams.
And that's partially the reason why I like the Diamondbacks so much. Because they're in the same division as the Rockies and the Dodgers, and they still have the record that they do.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't check. I don't know the exact numbers on Arizona's. What is it? What are they at?
They're
right now?
66 and 55. They're 1 game over the Rockies, 2 games ahead of the Dodgers, and only 5 ahead of the Giants. So there's 4 teams.
That division is really talented.
And the Diamondbacks, I think what people forget too is that 3 out of the 4 months so far this season, the Diamondbacks have been a great team. They had a terrible, terrible June, but they've rebounded and have now put themselves back in the thick of the NL playoff race. And I think you're right. The NL West certainly is probably the most intriguing division at this point because it's really the only one that has a majority of teams actually in the race.
That's also the division with the most former Twins. So, big fan of that.
Although will be interesting to see. Brian Dozier was taken out of last night's game and is now being treated for heart rhythm issues. So I don't know if he will be returning to the Dodgers soon or not.
That's too bad. Yeah, because he had the ideal start to when you're traded to a team and then you get up for the first time and you hit one out of the park, and then you're on SportsCenter like 2 days later for making a diving stop and starting a double play.
I mean, that middle infield of Dozier and Machado, that's
pretty darn
good.
Yeah.
Some might call that a little unfair.
That's when you turn off the fair trade thing in your MLB game, and then you just get all these good guys, and you're like, wait a second, that's a little too good in the middle of the infield.
You're just mashing dingers,
seriously.
every single game.
And I think we were treated last year to kind of a similar thing that we were this year, where the Red Sox are just on a tear. They are completely unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
No one can stop the Red Sox. And the thing is, we saw the Dodgers for the first 2/3 of the season. The Dodgers were on the same path that the Red Sox were, and everyone was talking about, are they going to reach the all-time wins record? And then they completely crapped out the last month and a half of the season, and still finished with 102 wins, but they had a horrendous stretch where they lost 16 of 17, and so I hope that doesn't happen to the Red Sox. Well, maybe kind of do, but
I'm gonna say the Red Sox are probably the closest equivalent to an AL rival that the Cardinals have had over the past 2 decades.
Barring any significant sputters like that, I mean, the Red Sox have to be the team to beat, not only in the AL but also in baseball period for the World Series. I think they until I'm proven otherwise, I think they are World Series bound from the AL. The NL is much more wide open. There are several teams that you can make a case for, and no one has really run away with any of the division races, because you've got the Braves and Phillies duking it out in the NL East. The Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals are duking it out for the Central, and you've got 4 teams in the West that are vying for a playoff spot. I mean, all these teams are there's no separation really between the teams.
I mean, if you look, there are, that's 8 teams who are within 5 wins of each other in the NL. You got the Braves, Cubs, and Diamondbacks, who are the division leaders, but the Cubs have the most wins of them with 68. Atlanta has 67 and Arizona has 66. You then have 5 teams below them who range between 64 and 68 wins at the time of this recording. Like, it's so close. And baseball, while yes, you have a couple guaranteed teams like the Red Sox who they're just going to make the playoffs. There are a lot of these races, particularly wild card and in divisions as close to this, that are decided in September, where teams just get hot at the right moment and they take on, can win against pretty much any team, and they'll surge into September, surge into October. And so while you can kind of make predictions on who you think's going to make it, there's always 1 or 2 teams every single season who they're just like, screw your predictions, we're going to mess all that up. And they're just going to go through and come out of nowhere on this tear, win like 20 games in the last month of the season, and then go on to win the World Series.
Do you think so let me ask you a question now. Do you think so? We obviously all agree that the NL is much, much closer than the AL. That's you can look at the standings and determine that for yourself. Do you think that, because I think we're all in agreement that Boston right now is the best team in baseball? Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair to say. Yeah. And I think JD Martinez, like what we talked about with Tiger, they're fun to watch. Like JD Martinez and Mookie Betts. I barely watch baseball, but I know who those guys are. They're fun to watch. Like when the Twins were playing the Red Sox, it was like, oh, like they're taking him to extra innings, and then all of a sudden, over the green monster is Mookie Betts. Like it's like, come on, are you kidding me? Of course, this guy hits a home run at this time. But my question is, will that end up hurting the Red Sox? Because kind of the same thing what you said with the Indians is that they're playing these, like the Indians are playing all these crap teams in the Central, but now the NL will be close, and whichever team makes it to the World Series will have beaten teams that are very, very good and close to them, where the Red Sox theoretically have an easier path.
I don't think it necessarily hurts the Red Sox to be that good. It's not like
that's the question, essentially. Yes,
but whoever they face from the NL, as you said, does have a tougher gauntlet. And as much as win records are impressive, and we have a whole bunch of, over the past however many years, we've had a whole bunch of 100-win teams. Very rarely do they make the World Series, though. They fall off. And so while regular season wins are important to getting into the playoffs, you'll almost always have to go with the hot hand. Who's playing the best baseball right now? Doesn't matter what they did in April, what they did in May. It's almost a completely different team by that point.
Because a lot of teams, the goal for a lot of baseball teams is to get to October, because anything can happen in October. You play to get to there, and then whatever happens after that happens. Because in the last 15, 16 years, there's only been one time, the 2013 World Series, where the 2 teams with the 2 best records in each league actually met each other in the World Series. There have been 6 or 7 wild card teams that have made the World Series, and there have been several other teams that were not the best team by record in their league, and they still made it to the World Series. It is a complete crapshoot. There is no expectations should be held for October, because anything can happen.
I think that if the Red Sox make the World Series, I do think the Red Sox are the best team in the AL. That one is not hard to argue. And if they make the World Series, they're going to play an NL team that most likely will have a record that's a lot worse than they have. I do think that'll lead to people overestimating how good the Red Sox are, because of how many good teams there are in the NL and how many good teams you have to face. Like, obviously, your batting is going to be worse and your pitching is going to be worse when you're playing a lot of good batting and good pitching teams. Red Sox are very good, but they're also playing a lot of bad teams, which boosts their numbers even more. So I think when it comes to the World Series, you might see a 10 or 20 win differential between the Red Sox and the team they're facing, but they still might be very close teams regardless of what the stats say.
And the Red Sox, I think, are built to succeed in October a little more than some other teams because, for one thing, in the postseason, you don't need 5 starting pitchers. You only need 4 with all the off days and travel days, and if your starter falters, it's really easy, again, with all the off days and travel days, to pull him early and go for the bullpen. And when you're scoring a lot of runs, you don't need to worry so much about keeping your pitchers in tight situations just so you can get innings. And the Red Sox have 2 of those 3 ingredients. They have a fantastic offense, and they have a fantastic bullpen. Their starting pitching leaves a little bit to be desired, but that's not going to matter too much in October. And their top end of the rotation is incredibly top-heavy with Chris Sale.
So I think a more interesting question than who's going to make the World Series. I think it sounds like we're all pretty much in agreement that it most likely the Red Sox, barring any sort of collapse, will make the World Series.
I think so.
Which NL team has the best shot against the Red Sox?
Eduardo and the Diamondbacks.
That is there any reason behind that other than he used to play for the Twins?
I really like Eduardo Escobar, guys. That's a really good question. I'm gonna let one of you take.
I'm gonna answer my own question here. Once again, a little bias showing, but I think the Cardinals are kind of the prototypical build of what you want. You've got strong young pitching, and a bullpen that recently has turned around is doing pretty darn well. And then you've got some proven offensive pieces and some young guns who are playing real well too. They've got just enough veteran leadership and people like Yadier Molina, like Marcell Ozuna, who are proven baseball players, where even in, quote, down years, particularly for Marcell Ozuna, he's still batting, 280, 285, with about 15 home runs. That's still a really good season. And then you've got a whole bunch of young players as well, like Tyler O'Neill, like Harrison Bader, like Paul DeJong, who are stepping up and playing really well. So against the Red Sox, you've got great starting pitching who are some of the best in the majors in terms of team ERA. You got people like Jack Flaherty, like John Gant, who are lights out, who can give you good innings. But even if they don't make it, as Christian said, you've got a little more reason, or a little less reason, to keep your starting pitchers in there longer. You can go to the bullpen. You got some really great arms. Carlos Martinez, who was the Cardinals staff ace to start off the season, has been dealing with some injuries. He's going to be available out of the bullpen now. You got a lot of great bullpen arms who have really kind of come into their own just recently because the Cardinals have been promoting so many young pitchers.
I don't know if St. Louis is necessarily the best chance to beat Boston, specifically because of the pitching. And I think it's not because of the talent level, it's because they're young. And in the World Series, young pitchers versus a team that is very, very offense focused. It's that bothers me. I don't know how well you could deal with that kind of pressure, especially when most of your rotation is young.
And Boston, as we've seen in every season when they do interleague play, but then also when they've gone to the postseason in the World Series 3 times in the last few years, Boston absolutely dominates in NL parks. They are probably, I think they are either the best or one of the best teams in interleague play since interleague play has started in the last 20 years. I mean, it does not matter what park they go to. There is no DH or no DH advantage for them. They hit wherever they go, and they've left many a pitching staff lying in their wake. I mean, they are crushing everybody, and they are an unstoppable freight train.
I think September will be very telling for which NL team, not only which NL team will make it to the World Series, but which NL team has the best chance of beating the Red Sox. Because I think facing the Red Sox is going to be different than facing the other NL teams. NL, a lot of those teams are very pitching focused. Red Sox are very offense focused. So beating a team in the NL, trying to get through good pitching, is going to be very different, because you can kind of ride a hot offense against NL teams if you can hit off of them, and you're going to play against the Red Sox, in which case World Series is going to be a shootout.
And the fact that the NL's best pitcher is likely to not be in the playoffs this year, with Max Scherzer and the Nationals struggling really, really mightily right now.
So NL is going to be really interesting coming into the last phase of this year. I'm excited.
And I think the top 2 teams in the NL that you would have said would be playoff contenders coming into the season, the Cubs and the Dodgers, they are still in the playoff race. The Cubs are still leading their division. The Dodgers are in the thick of it. They're both struggling bad right now at the time of this recording. You know, the Dodgers have had major bullpen issues. They've lost their closer, Kenley Jansen, for a significant amount of time, and then the rest of their bullpen is just giving up leads left and right. And the Cubs have hit a big funk with their starting pitching. And if that doesn't correct itself, they could start every game, in a 1 to 2 run hole in the first 3 innings. That's not a sustainable way to win baseball games, even if your offense is loaded with a bunch of great guys. So every NL contender is not a flawless team. The Red Sox, even though I would not go as far as say there is no flawless team ever, but the Red Sox are as close as you can get. And it'll be interesting to see how the races shake out, just because anything goes, and we've got a month and a half of some great baseball to play, and who knows who's going to emerge from the NL playoff picture. It's going to be fun to watch, much more fun to watch than AL baseball at the moment.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head, because we still have a month and a half of the season left, and someone could get hurt. Like you just said, Brian Dozier last night was taken off for a heart reason. Like,
heart rhythm issues, yeah.
Like, you can't predict that that's going to happen. Like, you think, obviously, guys are going to get banged up. I mean, they call August the dog days for a reason, because this is, we're getting into the 130th game. That's a lot of baseball. These guys are tired, but now they need to be rejuvenated, and I think we're going to start to see some separation in the National League. And as we said, the AL is basically already set right now. There's maybe discussion about the wild card, but I think baseball will get very hot very soon and very entertaining to watch through both leagues.
Yeah. I think those are good final thoughts there. Noah, do you have anything to add?
Cardinals are going to win the World Series in 4 games. Noah Brown. What?
No, I don't think that. I think if the Cardinals make it to the World Series and they end up winning, it'll be a much more dramatic fashion. But I was going to say something about the Twins. Like, it's okay, but it's not really.
Like, you have a shoulder to cry on? Is that really what you're offering?
Okay.
It's not.
The Twins are just sad, and I'm just going to be sad for a while.
The one thing I will say about the Twins is, if you just look for their on-paper talent, there are many teams who would on paper take Miguel Sano and Byron Buxton and Jose Barrios to build their team around. It's just they banked on these guys and they haven't produced. So it's not that the Twins' talent base is bad. It's just performance has to be there.
The Twins are bad.
And they were able to flip a lot of their potential free agents for some pretty interesting talent in the minor leagues.
The coming years are exciting.
So the coming years with the talent the Twins have drafted and developed, and the ones that they've gotten back this year, there's some hope there. It's just we've been saying that now for 26 years.
Since 1991.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I did see a Fangraph thing posted a little bit ago that Byron Buxton is arguably the fastest outfielder in MLB. Like, he ranked highest in I forget what it was, but it was like a certain distance sprint speed. He was just like the fastest.
We've known that for a while.
I'm just saying,
can't do anything else but run.
You know what? You know when that isn't as effective is when he's not in the outfield playing for the Twins. Like,
I'm just saying,
that's awesome, and that's an awesome stat.
As Twins fans, I'm just trying to give you guys something here.
Let us be sad.
I don't know how to comfort you all.
Don't try to comfort us. We just want to sit in our corner in the dark with a bucket of ice cream
and a Brian Dozier poster on our wall,
as we
crying
while watching the Notebook.
In that case, your team sucks. Sorry, not sorry.
Yep,
Thank you.
And
that's our closing thoughts from all of us at Q4. Anthony, Noah, and TJ. Our guest, Christian. It's been a pleasure having you. Thanks for listening.